Temporal Forces is just about to release, but what are the top 10 most expensive cards from this set? Now, obviously, with pre-order prices, they are going to be higher than normal, and they tend to drop after release. However, with a lot of the Scarlet and Violet era sets, they tend to be breaking the trend a little bit and actually going up after release, and then eventually going down. We saw that with things like the Roaring Moon and the Iono. It'll be really interesting to see how these cards will perform in the long run after the initial release, especially with these pre-order prices. But let's find out. Temporal Forces set looks to be pretty cool. Some amazing looking cards. I've been through the whole set, and this set looks solid. I think it's really good. Has some fantastic special illustration and illustration rares. But is the value there? Is it worth to crack open packs to try and pull the big hits? Apparently pull rates are quite tough to get the specific cards. There will be an upcoming video where we'll be going into the pull rates once we have that data. But right now we're just looking at the pre-order prices for the top 10 most expensive cards. So let's jump into the first one. In at number 10, we have the Raging Bolt EX. This is the gold card in the set. This is the long neck Raikou coming in. Now, this is the interesting thing with this set. I think that we're going to get quite high value special illustration rares. I mean, we'll find out once we go through this. We also want to see if these cards will hold value, mainly because this set is also going to be short printed. And I don't mean like massively short printed, but printed less, shall I say, than the previous Scarlet and Violet era sets. That will have an impact. We've seen it with a lot of the Sword and Shield era. Of course, if they're printed less, then a lot of the top end cards will hold value, especially if poise are super tough. That's one thing we have to keep in mind, but it is going to be really interesting. So with this one, we are looking at $37 for this card. Look, it's going to be interesting. The gold cards are quite tough. I think there's 6 in this set. I think there's 1 for each of the legendary beasts. In the other Scarlet and Violet era sets, the gold cards have been the hardest to pull, so it's be interesting to see where they lie. As a rule, they tend not to be the most expensive cards in the set. It usually goes down to the special illustration rares, which are kind of like on the same level as alt arts from the Sword and Shield era. Then we have Prime Catcher. These are the Ace trainer cards that are coming back into the TCG, and this is actually quite a pricey one. Price Catcher coming in at $40. I think you get I don't even think you get 1 per box. I don't think it is 1 per box. So it'd be interesting to see how difficult this card will be to get hold of. I mean, look, I judge a set on how successful it is of how many cards are like above that, between $30, $25 and $30 plus is where I kind of look at how good a set is. And of course, there are some great sets already that have pretty good price ranges. 151's obviously a very, very good one. But then I'll also say Paldea Evolve's a pretty solid one. And same with Paradox Rift. Scarlet Violet Base and Obsidian Flames, however, were pretty poor. Let's be fair, they got like 1 or 2 cards over it. It's not really worth it. Whereas this, it seems interesting that we're already seeing the pre-order prices at $40. I do expect it to drop because I kind of feel like the Ace Trainer cards might be quite easy to get hold of. I don't really know how many of these in the set, I can't remember, but if the pull rates are maybe 1 per box, then it might be a little bit tricky to get hold of a bunch of these, but we'll have to wait and see. Then we have the Walking Wake EX. Now this is the Suicune. I actually like this card. I actually like all of the illustration rares. I actually like all the special illustration rares that are in this set. I think they're all fantastic, especially the legendary beasts. It's just a really, really nice. $41. It's kind of interesting because I always thought Suicune, essentially Suicune, was going to be one that holds the most value, but hey, look, apparently not. That's actually quite interesting that it's not really holding the best amount of value right now at $41. As you can see with all these graphs, they are dropping, which is to be expected. The pre-order prices are obviously high, and then they drop after release, and then depending on the pull rates, we'll decide whether or not these cards will stay at that level, or they'll go up, or they'll go down. Most of the time, they tend to go down, but if they're quite tough to get hold of, then they'll trickle up. We've seen that quite a lot, actually, in the Scarlet and Violet era. Compared to Sword and Shield, a lot of the Sword and Shield, the big alt arts came out at such a high price, and then just fell really, really quickly, whereas a lot of the Scarlet and Violet era ones haven't. They kind of went up after release, so it'd be interesting to see if any of these cards do in fact go up. Then we have a full art trainer. So we do have some full art trainers in the top 10 coming into this set. It's been a big trend with Scarlet and Violet era right now with getting all these big full art expensive trainers. We had it, of course, from all the Japanese sets, Miriam, Iono, and things like that, usually fetching a pretty hefty price tag. But we got Eri coming in at $43. Look, I mean, full art trainers tend to do pretty well so far in the Scarlet and Violet era. They're all pretty much holding quite well. Sword and Shield era didn't do very well in the form of full art trainers. I like the most expensive cards as a set to be Pokemon, personally. But, you know, it is top 10. We're not looking at the top 3, for instance. So, you know, fetching a pretty hefty price tag of $43. I do expect this to drop, however. You know, could be $20, $25 by the end of it. But we'll, of course, we'll have to wait and see. Then we have Morty's Conviction. So this is another trainer special illustration rare. Of course, it does have a really interesting Pokemon in it, of course. A lot of people have been talking about this card quite a bit. Now, there is an illustration rare in the set that features Gengar, and I think it's the Ghastly illustration rare, which is an incredible card. This one's fetching $45. We'll have to wait and see where this one will lie, of course. I think this one actually will do probably one of the higher trainer cards, actually, going into the release of this set, just because of the artwork more so than anything else. So yeah, I think this one will actually do pretty well. I think this one will hold. I think it'll probably be top 5 cards, maybe even top 3 cards of the set, but we'll have to wait and see. Of course, based on pull rates, is special illustration, so it's going to be quite difficult to get hold of. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Gouging Fire. Now this is my chase card of the set, my boy Entei, coming in. We're looking at $45. Now, this actually came out of one of the Japanese sets, one of the higher value cards. I think it actually is like probably the highest value card out of Wild Forces, I believe it's called. Beautiful card. Love the artwork. I'm really looking forward to it. And we'll have to wait and see what happens with the value of this card. I think this card will actually go up. I think the Legendary Beast cards and Special Illustration will actually climb. We'll have to wait and see whether or not that's going to be the case. But I do feel like this card could sit around that $40 to $50 mark for a while and potentially go higher, just because it is such a big card, such an amazing artwork, and a fan favorite Pokemon. Entei's my boy. Alright, Raging Bolt. We got the Raikou coming in. I don't know why it's a draft, I don't know, but I love the artwork. Very colourful. That's one thing I like about this set, and same with Paradox Rift, is the colours. They really, really pop, and I'm here for it. I really am. So we're looking at $52. So now we're breaking the $50 mark. That's actually quite interesting. So this is currently the 4th most expensive card in the pre-orders. Now over $50. That's pretty solid. I mean, if you think about it, the Charizard from Obsidian Flames is the biggest card in the set. That's under $50. We look at Roaring Moon from Paradox Rift is now hit $50. That's the most expensive card. This is the 4th at $50 pre-order. I think it will go up. I think the Legendary Beasts, I think the originals will probably do pretty well. I think the OG3, but we'll have to wait and see, of course. All depends on the pull rates. I'm really interested in the pull rates just because this set is going to be printed less, so that's going to have a big impact on a lot of these prices. Then we have the Iron Crown, so one of the futuristic Pokemon. This one's actually gone up since, like, you know, pretty much the pre-order prices, which is actually quite interesting, at $55. Again, beautiful, colourful artwork coming out. Super cool. I'm looking forward to it, to be fair. I am really, really looking forward to it. It does look really, really nice. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see how these, you know, prices go. I personally prefer the ancient Pokemon to the future Pokemon, but still, they're doing really well, right? Of course, we saw it with Paradox Rift. A lot of the, you know, Iron Valiant and the Roaring Moon tend to do pretty well. Even though they have dropped in value, they are still phenomenal looking cards. Look, I think these could do very well. I mean, this set is coming out, and it's the same number as like Battle Styles, the equivalent of Battle Styles. So it'd be interesting to see where it lies. You know, obviously Battle Styles brought us the Altarts in the Sword and Shield, and it took a while for a lot of the cards to gain their value over time. But still, you know, we don't have them that many expenses. You just have the OR, T-Tar, and then the rest are kind of like around that $50 or less. So it'd be interesting to see where this set has, you know, any cards that are going to be $50 towards $100 even. And we'll tell with these. Number 2 is a full art trainer, Bianca's Devotion. Now, look, I'm not a fan of full art trainers, you know, being in the top spot. Okay, I give it to Iono. Iono is a really nice card. However, I do think the Magikarp might overtake it. But, you know, we've seen it time and time again with the Scarlet and Violet, with the Miriam as well. Look, I'm not a huge fan. I like the idea of having big Pokemon as the top cards. And I mean, yeah, okay, fair enough. We do have quite a lot of Pokemon in this top 10. But then we also have 3 trainer cards in the top 10. So this is coming in at number 2, fetching a price tag of $60 so far. I think this will fall. I don't see it being in, I don't even think this will be in the top 5, if I'm honest. I don't think it will stay in the top 5. I think the other Pokemon special illustrations will go above this, but we'll have to wait and see. You know, Iono did hold strong, but then Iono was kind of unique and held a really, really hefty price point. Palette and Face, the Iono there did drop, you know, whereas the Charizard, the Mew, and the Gardevoir have either held steady or kept going up. That's quite interesting that the Iono there had dropped. You know, bearing in mind in the Japanese version, of course, the Ono is the most expensive, so it did actually drop over time, whereas we might see this with this set as well. And coming up number 1, we have a Pokemon. We have Iron Leaves. Beautiful artwork, absolutely stunning. At $88, big jump. This is a big money card, big ticket cards. Has dropped a little bit in value, but it's interesting to see where it'll be a couple of weeks to a month after the set releases. We could be looking at a potentially $100 card. It might go up, it might go down. I think because it's so far ahead in value to the others, I think this will probably remain the most expensive card in the set. But the others have a lot of room to catch up, and I do believe they will. Whether or not this card will drop in value over time, I think over time it will, but again, it depends how much is printed, how much is this set going to be opened. Overall, I think it's going to be less than the previous set, so a lot of these cards, if they do hold their value, we could be looking at this bouncing up. We could be seeing this only going as low as maybe $60, $50. We'll have to wait and see, but going strong at 88. There you have it, guys. Those are the top 10 most expensive cards coming out in Temporal Forces, which is literally out in like a day or two. So, I mean, look, this set does look great fun, and we've got to keep in mind about the single cards. Don't buy them now because they are expensive with the pre-order prices. Although I've seen some people sell these cards. Look, for around about over here in the UK, I've seen some sell like the N10 stuff for like £40, stuff like that. That's not too bad actually, you know, compared to some of the other prices. But the Iron Leaves is holding the fort down at $88 in the pre-order prices. So big factors we've got to keep in mind is pull rate and the amount of supply meeting the demand. I think the demand for this set is probably actually going to be more than some of the previous ones. More people have talked about this set than Paradox Rift. I think more people talked about this set probably more than any other set apart from 151 and Paladin Fates. You know, I think this is probably going to be possibly the third best set in this era. I mean, of course, 151 is crushing it. Paladin Fates is doing incredibly well, and on top of that, Paladin Revolved is doing very good. But Obsidian Flames, Paradox Rift, and Scarlet Violet Base are struggling. Booster boxes are super cheap. The single card prices are falling like crazy. I mean, the Miriam in Scarlet Violet Base is the most expensive at under $30, and the Roaring Moon and the Charizard are like $50 or less. So you don't really have big high value cards in those sets to chase. Whereas, of course, in Paladin Fates, we've got the big Charizard that's over $100, and of course, you got the Shiny Mew as well. But then on top of that, in 151, you've got the big Charizard at over $100, and then you've got things like the Blastoise sitting around $45 to $50. So, you know, you do have quite a big jump there, which is actually pretty good. So it'll be really interesting to see where Temporal Forces will stay over the next few weeks and the next couple of months. But I think the supply and pull rates will have a impact on this set for sure. If you made this far in the video, guys, and you've enjoyed it, make sure to smash the like button and make sure to subscribe for more Pokemon content. And let me know your thoughts down in the comments about Temporal Forces and the top 10 most expensive. Which card are you looking to pull? For me, it's got to be my boy Entei. Hopefully we pull it. If you want to know the best Temporal Forces product to buy for your money right now, then make sure to click the video on screen. And if you watch more Pokemon content, guys, you know what to do. Make sure that subscribe button. Alright, guys, that's it for me in this video. As always, you guys are legends. And of course, I'll see you in the next one.